7 o'clock, John.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Town of Wawarsing Planning Meeting. Please help me say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, after the meeting or after the last applicant, we have some things to take care of. It'll only take 5 seconds to do, but we have to send a letter. Let us get started. Simon Trust, Timber Harvest. Does anyone here representing them?
Good evening. This is Paul Kowalczyk. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I'm the consulting forester for the Simon Trust. I've been working with them for approximately 25 years. We're going to do a small partial timber harvest on about 38 acres. And we're moving trees mostly that are ailing in health due to the emerald ash borer killing our ash trees, the hemlock woolly adelgid killing our hemlock, and some decline in some of our oak trees. Last time we harvested this was about 25 years ago.
Awesome. I got a text message here. Oh, can you let Paul in?
Paul Tozzolino?
Yeah.
We're letting in Paul Lonstein?
Yes, please.
Okay.
There's nobody else trying to get in right now, John. Not that I can see. Oh, here comes Terry Haug.
Try again. I sent to him.
Here comes someone else.
While we're doing that, I just thought I'd go over the regulations for specifications from the logging worksheet for the town of Wawarsing in case we don't do that every logging, but we should. Applicant will need approval from the County of Ulster Public Works for the access drive and low liability insurance policy, naming the town of Wawarsing as co-insured. Workman's comp, disability, and liability must be placed with the town. $300 logging permit to be obtained from the code enforcement officer. I think it's 5 now. The no clear cutting of property, no cutting of trees within 50 feet of the property line, no stream crossing without DEP, no logging on wetlands. All logs shall be loaded 50 feet from the road, no loading on public roads. All skid trails loading areas shall be graded and seeded upon completion. The property must be kept in a clean and neat manner at all times. All property lines must be flagged and/or staked out prior to the issuance of the logging permit to be approved by the code enforcement officer. Oh, geez.
Understood?
Yeah, everything is good. I'm doing a double duty here. I sent the link out to everybody, but somebody doesn't have it. Would you like to continue with your logging and what you're planning on doing and what you're taking?
Sure. It's a partial harvest. All trees were marked in blue paint that are to be harvested. It's a property, as I mentioned, under the 488 tax law plan. We will be using one log landing site. The project will take it's a one-man operation that'll be harvesting the timber. Project will take probably about 6 to 8 weeks to finish, and it's weather dependent. Most of the trees are red oak, white ash, hemlock, and some sugar maple. The log landing site is off Phil Martin Road and was used in the past about 25 years ago.
Okay. Are there any questions from any of the board members?
Nope, not for me.
Not from me either.
Frank and I took the opportunity to walk some of it. It was quite a nice day out. Frank, do you have anything that you might want to add to it?
John's asking if you have anything
Yes,
you'd like to
John, I
add.
think the gentleman will have to get a hold of the superintendent of highways to take a look and see what size culvert he's going to want on that ditch coming up where they're going to come out with the logs.
Not a problem. We would be normally putting in a construction entrance anyhow, as per the rules and regs. So the culvert size would be critical there, and we will find out what size we need.
We
Okay.
thank you.
Great. Does any other board member wish to make a comment?
Hey, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Paul? Any other comments on this? Would somebody like to make a secret determination?
I'll make that motion, John. Doug.
Don Smallsley will second.
What, you have to be more specific as to what the motion is.
I my apologies. The town should declare lead agency and a negative deck be declared.
Doug,
And I will second that. Don Smallsley will second that motion.
And we need a roll call.
I'll make it.
On the vote, Dr. Lowenstein,
I'm going to abstain because I just got into the meeting.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Odom,
Yes.
Mr. Schmalz,
Yes.
and I vote yes. And on the application for this timber harvest on Simon Trust Green Lumber Company, do we have a motion?
Give me. Thank you.
Do we have a motion on this application?
did you open the public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. As pursuant, can we open the public hearing? Is there anybody here present that wishes to speak about this?
Yes, sir, I do. My name is Shannon Bettridge.
Shannon, please.
Thank you for your time. I just had a couple of questions regarding this. I heard that it was going to take about 6 to 8 weeks to complete because it's a one-man operation, depending on weather, of course. Do you have an estimate of when that work would begin?
It's going to be probably weather dependent. Right now, it is too wet to do any kind of work.
Right.
So once it dries out, at the earliest convenience, that's probably when we'll start. Once conditions will support equipment properly, we would be able to start. And if we do get the right type of summer, it's probably going to take place this summer.
Okay, so it could potentially stretch throughout the summer then.
Yes.
Gotcha. And then you had said that they were primarily red oak, sugar maple, and what was the third species? I didn't catch that.
Red oak, white ash. Of course, we're losing our white ash, just the emerald ash borer, and
Right.
hemlock, and some sugar maple.
Hemlock, okay. And then is there, I know you said the trees were marked with blue paint. We're the neighboring, adjacent neighbors to the property, but we don't live there year round. We haven't been up there this winter. So I'm just trying to get an idea of how many trees and where they are. I know there was the 50-foot setback from the property line, but is there somewhere a map or an illustration of where those trees are?
Yes, the board has a copy of that map. Where exactly is your property in relation to this Simon property?
We are actually a flag lot within the Simon property. We're 14 Lookout Farm Road.
14 Lookout. And you're the Lewis property?
Bettridge, yes.
Okay, yes. Well, we met on the property that one day.
Oh, that's right, Paul. Nice to see you.
Yes, yes. So you know exactly where we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. And I was just wondering, Paul, how many how many trees it is, just out of curiosity?
Okay, we can break it down into 3 different groups. One in saw timber trees, which are trees that are large enough to get boards from. There's 418 of those
Gotcha.
trees.
Wow.
Okay. Then there are other trees that are of poor quality. We consider them unacceptable growing stock that are too small or too crooked or too deformed to make boards out of, and we use them mostly for firewood or for pulpwood. There's a total of 316 of those.
Got it.
Then there's a third group called cull trees. Those trees have no economic value at all. Foresters mark them just to remove them from the stand because they have no future.
Right.
And there's a total of 196 of those trees. So approximately of trees in the main canopy, we're probably removing about 20% of the stand in that area.
Gotcha.
The reason being is we're being pushed by the emerald ash borer
I know.
that's killing our trees. We would love to leave those trees grow and continue to thrive, but with the emerald ash borer, that's not an option.
I know. It's so sad.
Yes.
Well, thanks for walking me through that, Paul. I appreciate that. That one man is going to be very busy this summer.
Yes. Yes.
But we'll be there for water and snacks. So.
Oh, very good. Well, good to talk to you again.
Right.
Is there anyone else that wishes to say anything about the Simon Trust timber harvest?
Don Smallsley makes a motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have
Frankel second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Can I abstain?
Do we have a motion? Can we have a motion?
Yes.
Who is
I'll
yes?
make the motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, we did that.
Oh, we already did that?
Yeah,
All
we
right.
closed the
He's
public
looking for a
hearing.
motion for approval or denial.
Oh,
I'll make
I'll make the motion that we approve it.
Okay, I'll
And,
second it.
and that should be made subject to the worksheet that the chairman read earlier, and you
And
may
the
want
meeting
to,
with Superintendent of Highways.
right, and you might want to, exactly, thank you, Frank.
And
So
Don
whoever makes
Odom,
the motion-
Don Odom seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Again, I'll abstain.
All right, then we will have the timber harvest. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your time.
Good night.
Good night now.
Heidi Young, Klein and Sons Logging, timber harvest operation. Is anyone here for that? Is anyone here for Heidi Young
Yes.
timber harvest?
Chris Prentice, Consulting Forester, Lower Hudson Forestry Services, representing the application for Heidi Young. We're proposing to harvest a portion of tax parcel 74.2-2-21 located at 254 Spook Hole Road. Parcel is 74 acres in total, of which 29 acres is being proposed to be harvested. We are going to harvest 461 hardwood and softwood trees on that 29 acres, or approximately 16 trees per acre. The property was harvested approximately 20 years ago. There are some old skid trails, and there is an old landing that was used in the past. The erosion control plan for the property will be regrading all the skid trails, cleaning the landing of debris, smoothing it out, reseeding it, and applying any erosion control devices such as water bars or turnouts where needed. One question did come up is on the EAF mapper. I did make a mistake. This property does lie in your newly or fairly newly designated critical environmental area, the Cedar Swamp. It it's adjacent to a large DEC wetlands, but it is actually in the critical environmental area. There's a 100-foot no-cut buffer on the wetlands, and of course the 50-foot no-cut buffers along the property lines. It's expected that it should take about 4 to 5 weeks, weather dependent, to finish this project. And the logger will be installing stabilized construction entrance and tracking pad in the old landing access.
Does any board member have any questions?
My only concern was when you and I went out, John,
Yeah.
is the water that comes across where the landing is going to come out.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Chris and he talked about Klein's possibly putting a culvert there so that it doesn't disturb and muddy up the ground there and run off into the wetlands. And I basically think that's what Klein's would do anyway, but that would be my concern. He has plenty of sight distance coming in and out of the old entrance.
So, Mr. Prentice, you can address that, right?
Yes, we can do that.
Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak about this lands of Young Timber Hub? Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak about the lands of Young Timber Hub?
None being, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Dr. Lonstein, seconded by Mr. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Does anybody have a,
Make a motion that the town planning board become lead agency and declare a negative declaration.
Second. Doug.
we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Roll call.
Oh, that's right. We got to do,
CEQA.
we need to do CEQA. Anybody would like to make a motion on?
You have a motion.
Yeah, we have a
You need to
motion. You
do
just got a
call.
roll call vote, John.
Oh, I did?
We just need the roll call vote.
Dr. Lonstein,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Odom,
Yes.
Mr. Schmalm,
Yes,
and I say yes. And a motion to pass or fail.
I'll make the motion to accept it with the rules from the town of Wawarsing.
Don Smosley will second.
We have a motion to accept. Is there any on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You have a logging permit.
Yeah, thank you.
You have approval. You will still need to get a logging permit from the building department.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. We have a trust, parcel forest product, timber harvest. Is there anyone here for?
Yes, that's actually me again. Chris Prentice, Lower Hudson Forestry Services, representing the Black Trust, tax parcel 91.3-1-3, located off of the end of Hang Glider Road and Route 52. We're proposing to harvest 32 acres of a 87.5 acre parcel. The trees are a mix of hardwood and softwood, ranging in size from 14 to 32 inches in diameter. 611 trees, or approximately 19 trees per acre, are being removed. There is a DEC classified stream that runs through the center of the property. There's a 50-foot no-cut buffer along the edge of that stream on both sides. We do not need to cross that stream with any type of crossing, as there's a pre-existing reinforced steel, the old railroad grade bridge that crosses the stream. 50-foot no-cut buffer along the property lines. The erosion control plan would be the smoothing and grading of all skid trails and landings, installing water bars where needed, following the BMPs from the DEC for logging. Access to the property is made via Hang Glider Road. The landing is actually on another parcel that Mr. Black owns, parcel 91.1-1-9. It's in an open, large field, so there wouldn't be need to construct a landing or clear any trees. The railroad grade is actually owned by the Nevele Resort, and included in the application was a letter dated February 19th, 2021, granting access to use the railroad grade by the Nevele Resort.
Who signed it?
What did you say, Robin?
That
Who
It
signed
was
it?
signed by Michael Trainer.
Michael Trainer's not the owner any
He's
longer,
not the owner.
That's right.
so it's not valid.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, Michael Trainer is not the owner.
Who's the
I
owner?
mean, how long ago was the sale?
Well, it went, I think it went to the bank.
Yeah, it went back to the bank.
Mary Lou might know, weigh in on
No, I do not know.
There's a phone number on the old Nevele sign by the property. You know, if you're, interested in buying it, that would probably be a good lead.
The fence permit that we issued was not issued to Michael Trainer, it was issued to the bank, because we secured the property recently, and the new owner is the financial institution, not
So
Mr.
the bank foreclosed
Mhm.
and took it back?
Yes. So do you feel that we need a new authorization letter?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not something that's recorded, if prior to the bank taking it back, Michael Trainer had given him a recorded easement, then we'd be okay, but it's meaningless.
Julie, I think Julie is on right now, correct, Julie? I thought she said that she was on.
I am, but I
Why?
wasn't for this, but I am here.
How are you? I see the
Good,
letter
how are
here.
you?
I'm good. I see the letter here, is dated February 19th, by you.
Oh, it's
Perhaps the Nevele R LLC is the deeded owner of that rail trail, and I called Michael Trainer, and he confirmed that, and he granted access.
Okay. So is he still the owner, Julie?
According to him,
yeah. All right, how do we find out who the real owner is?
I guess we're gonna have to check with the assessor's office tomorrow.
Well, the assessor may not
Probably.
even know yet, depending on when this happened. I would ask that the applicant actually track that down for us and give us some kind of proof.
Also,
Thank you, Julie.
on visiting the property,
you're welcome.
we did notice some violations that probably should be addressed. Maybe you can get a hold of the building department and see if those violations could be addressed in some manner that would be applicable so that you can get a permission for this logging harvest.
And what were the violations, if I can ask?
Chris, some of the violations were unregistered vehicles, numerous ones on the property, which is a violation. They just been abandoned. One is up there where the landing was going to be. There was an RV there, unregistered van. There were some other trailers there and possibly a cargo container. So if they'd like to reach out to us, I could meet them out there, or Robin could meet them out there, and we can go over the violations and why you're trying to get this approval for the rail trail. We can maybe get them straightened up before, so it would have no effect on this. But with the building department cannot issue a permit if there's a violation on that property.
Even if the timber harvest is on a separate tax parcel from the parcel that's in violation?
Well, I don't know exactly the property lines because it wasn't just the two vehicles up at the one corner where the landing is. I don't know where the rest of the parcel comes down. So I have to, he's still
Well,
using it.
the parcel that we're logging does not come across the rail trail. So everything is on the other side of the rail trail.
I think that this is mute. I think at this point you should discuss it with the building department and establish your landing zone is on another parcel that is owned by the owner. And in the meantime, you need to find out who actually owns the real estate if you're going to cross it.
Well, the skid trail is definitely through the property.
What was the exact name of the LLC that Michael Trainer gave permission through?
I'll let you know in 1 second. Let me get to that letter.
Nevele
the
Resort and Spa, Nevele Pro Sport Campus.
Yeah.
That's not who's on the tax map. This is Julie
Yeah,
again.
and there in 2018 there was a deed, Nevele Hotel LLC by referee, so that would be foreclosure, to Star Nevele owner LLC, whoever that.
I think when you've got it cleared up, we'll entertain this further.
Okay.
I'd just like to remind you that because you did close the public hearing, you do have a limited time to make the decision. So try and find out quickly, so.
We didn't open or close it.
No, it was, no, oh, I'm sorry, that was the
Not on this
last.
one.
We had so many, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Barbara was saying you did not open the meeting.
Okay, is it however, scheduled for public hearing tonight?
It would have been, but.
Well, so we should still listen in case anybody has anything to say.
Does anybody have anything to say on the Flat Trust timber harvest? Does anybody have anything to say about the Flat Trust timber?
Okay, then maybe a motion to hold the public
I'll
hearing
make that
open until
motion.
next month.
I'll make the motion to keep the public hearing open.
Don Smallsley will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll keep the public hearing open.
Okay.
Thank you.
So contact building department and find out who the owner is of Nevele, correct?
Right, yeah. Violations and that. We're getting it.
And then in relationship to the violations as well as on Mr. Blatt's property.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice evening.
Thank you as well.
Good night.
Okay, Shirley Dwyer, lot line revision. Who's here for?
Good evening, Patty Brooks. I am representing Shirley Dwyer this evening.
Awesome. Did you read the comments from our planner
I did.
and the recommendations, the bulk tables and so forth you can meet?
Absolutely, not a problem. And in addition to that, we'll also add a note regarding the area variance that was granted by the zoning board back on March 9th.
Would you like to request a waiver of topography?
I would like to request the waiver of topography as all the improvements are existing, as noted in your planner's comments, and no new construction will be proposed.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, John. It's Doug.
And a
I'll second it.
Awesome. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will waive the topography. Did we declare seeker on this?
It's actually type 2, isn't
No,
it?
I would suggest the first thing you do is accept the sketch plan, and then you can go into the seeker.
Okay. Take a motion to accept the plan before the board.
John, I did not hear anything that you said. I'm sorry. You didn't catch. What did you say?
Take a motion to accept the plan that is before the board.
John Smallsley will make the motion to accept the sketch plan as proposed.
Dr. Lonsdale will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And if you'd like to continue to do seeker, I'm recommending that this be classified as a type 2 action, which requires no further action if you agree that it's that category.
Take a motion on the sequel.
I make a motion on CEQA that we consider it type 2.
That's done.
John Smallsley will second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Mr. Lowenstein,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Odom,
Yes.
Schmaltz,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And the next recommended action is that if the applicant can submit this, take the sketch and resubmit it as a preliminary plan by Friday with the changes that were recommended in my memorandum, that you could schedule it for a public hearing at the May meeting.
It's Jonathan, is it Friday or is it Tuesday? I thought we were 3 weeks before.
I wasn't certain of I said Friday out of abundance of caution. I wasn't entirely sure what the newspaper deadline was. So that's why I put Friday. I know it might vary from month to month.
It's okay. We can definitely have it in by Friday, and I want to make sure that we provide the maximum amount of time. I know that it's sometimes difficult with the weekly newspapers.
Barbara, is that
Barbara's saying by the 29th is sufficient.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
so? With that, can we schedule a public hearing? Do we need a motion? We don't.
Yes, you do need a motion to schedule
We
a
need a
public hearing
motion to,
contingent upon the preliminary plan being in by.
the 29th.
So moved. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Dr. Lowenstein made the motion. Mr. Wood seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will see you next month.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Night, Patty.
Good night.
Jones, Walter. Is there anyone here for Jones Dalton?
Joanne.
I saw Mr. DeWinter earlier.
Which one? Is this on Stalter?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, I'm here for that.
Oh, great, Jim. Thank you. Would you like to just give a brief summary of what we're doing?
Yeah, basically, it's a few different lot line adjustments such that tax lot, the lot line between tax lot 62 and 63, I believe, 63 is going to be shifted over a little bit. And also tax lot 60 will be incorporated into lot 62. That way it makes all the lots, although all the lots are non-conforming, none of them are less non-conforming. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Does any board member have any questions or wish to?
I do not.
Okay, then would anybody like to make this a completed sketch plan?
Don Smallsley will make the motion to accept the site plan as submitted.
Doug Hart will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this is a CEQA request. It's a type 2 action. Would somebody like to make a motion for that?
I'll make that motion, John. That this be considered a type 2 action.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Hart, seconded by Mr. Wood. On the motion of secret type 2.
Yes.
Dr. Lunsky? Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Schmalz?
Yes.
Mr. Wood? And Mr. Oden?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I think that's all of us.
And Mr. DeWinter, if you can retitle this as a preliminary plan and just resubmit the exact same thing but with the corrected title, I would recommend that the planning board make a motion to schedule it for public
Can
hearing.
we just leave
in
the
May.
title as it is and you can treat it as a preliminary, this way we don't have to change it for final?
If that's okay with the board.
I have no problem if you want to leave it as, maybe you could put it preliminary / final. What's the lawyer say?
I mean, at some point, you're gonna have to change it
It
after.
has to say final. You can't say preliminary.
No, it has to be preliminary before it's final. So I realize it costs money, but I don't know that we need 11 copies of it. But I think it would be, if we're going to be voting on a preliminary, it should say preliminary.
All right, but I'm thinking as a minor, whatever you want to consider minor, whatever. I would assume that at the public hearing, you'll approve the preliminary, waive final public hearing, and write the final, correct?
Yes, and then you'll have to take the preliminary and put the word final on it. So, but it's not gonna take any more time.
It's just more printing, that's all.
It's just as a technical matter, when they have the hearing and we have a hearing on it, it should say.
And when somebody comes back to look at the file in 20 years, we'll have a nice record of how it.
All right, well, and the only reason we already have them printed up to be submitted for this Friday, so, all right.
Well,
we'll see if
that's why in the memo I said to submit it as a preliminary plan.
Yeah. All right.
That's all I have to do, one word.
Yeah, I know. I hopefully I have a stamp that says preliminary. I can just stamp it. Because like I said, we have it all printed because we knew we thought we had a deadline of Friday, so.
Well, you could put an X and write the word preliminary 11 times.
All right.
Or you can hold on to the one that says final and hope we don't have any changes, and then you'll be able to use it next time.
All right, we didn't. All right, thank you.
All right, and do we need a public hearing on this?
Public hearing motion, yeah.
A motion for it? please?
Don Smallsley will make a motion to set a public hearing for the May meeting, contingent upon having the submission in time for the public hearing, which is April 29th, I believe.
Yes, Barbara said. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schmalz, seconded by Dr. Lounstein. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
You're breaking up, John. That's why we're not responding.
Is it that I'm not speaking directly in?
I don't know, but
We have a motion by Mr. Schmalz and a second by Mr. Wood. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will see you next month for the public hearing.
Thank you.
Night.
Good night. Well, I'm here for the next one as well,
Oh, okay.
along with Mr. Manpel. He's,
Okay. Do Mr. Manpel, would you like to give a brief presentation?
myself, okay. It's proposed to subdivide tax lot 1.1 such that the road becomes a natural subdivision. And then we're going to be combining that with the other lot. And that's it in a nutshell, really.
Jim, I'm a little confused there. So we're going to continue to have two lots on the south side of the road?
No. The parcel 2 of tax lot 1.1 will be combined with tax lot, and tax lot 1.2. All right, so it'll go from 1.04 to 7.05, but that's going to be adjusted as we discuss that later, a little bit later.
If you look,
Everything that Mr. Manpella owns on the south side of the road will be one lot.
But there's two lots there. One.
if you look at, Don, perhaps if you go to the memo that I wrote on April 8th and look at the bottom of the first page,
Yeah.
that'll explain it, because that lot 1.2 is going to merge into lot 1.1.
Yes.
Okay, but then there will still be Alt House as a separate lot, correct?
Oh, yeah,
The
but that's
house
not
is-
part-
Go
that's
ahead.
correct. All house is owned by someone else.
Okay, and, all right.
He just happens to have a piece of property that goes behind their two pieces of property, and he's joining that.
It wraps around it like a little collar.
Okay, all right.
And none of that goes into Sullivan County?
No.
Okay, so everything is within the.
What? Okay,
Council will-
not that makes any-
The town of Maple, the property line is also the town line.
Okay.
Which is also the county line.
All right, so does the county and the town of Mammoth need to be notified on this
No.
action?
Not only don't they need to be notified, our own county doesn't even need to be notified. Because this is not considered a action that requires notification.
Okay.
On the property in which the dwelling is, do you propose any other building or any other structure?
No, there's no construction or disturbance on either lots.
Okay, Jim, the other thing I would say is that little Z indicator that indicates the property continues on the other side of the road should be removed.
Where is that? Oh, okay, I got you.
It will,
See it?
it will be. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
And John, the new lot where the house is will only be 7 acres, and it's a 5-acre minimum. So they
Yes.
can construct an addition to the house, but they can't make another house ever.
That's correct.
And the addition would have to meet setbacks, of course.
Yes, there's only one, the one side yard is non-conforming, but we're not, that lot line will always be there. It's a pre-existing non-conforming. And
So not only does the proposal, Mr. DeWinter drew, doesn't show any type of construction, but there's not that much construction that could happen anyway, other than maybe an ordinary house addition.
Or accessory buildings or whatever, yeah.
And those lots will be a slightly smaller because as one of the comments from Mr. Lockman was that you wanted a dedication for the road, So we've prepared that and we've adjusted the areas accordingly.
Before we go any further, I want to backtrack 1 minute on the notice. We're under the exception agreement, so it doesn't have to go to Sullivan County. It doesn't have to go to Ulster County. However, under General Municipal Law 239 NN, a subdivision does within 500 feet of a neighboring town does have to go to that other town. Notice of the.
So under NN it does, but not under GML.
Under GML 239 NN.
And even if the subdivision doesn't involve any new lots.
It's
really it's a subdivision review. So
okay. All right. Well, John asked me that a million times, and I was telling him he didn't have to do it.
Yep.
But
better safe than sorry. But yeah, it just says subdivision review, and that's what this is.
then I will defer to the attorney and withdraw my advice that you didn't need to notify Mamakating and Sullivan County.
You don't have to notify Sullivan County, only
the town of Mamakating.
Only Mamakating. Okay.
So
now, will that?
Barbara,
will that
do we need a motion for that? No.
Why don't you make one? It says no confusion.
Okay.
My memo says otherwise.
Can we have a motion to send a letter to the town of Mamakating?
That it will be it will be notice of the public hearing. So
Yes, the motion should be to send the town of Mamakating clerk the notice of your public hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. DeWinter, do you have any? Can you match 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8 of the comments?
We have done the only thing I know. There's a couple of waivers that Mr. Lockman had recommended, including I think topography and there is no wetlands. And the only other thing I would ask would be about the steep slopes, means we're not doing anything. And you're waiving the topography. I would ask that you waive indicating the steep slopes as well.
Yeah, I would recommend that the board waive the submission of topography, steep slopes, grading, and drainage study, as no construction or land disturbance of any kind is proposed.
Don Smallsley will make that motion.
I'll second that. Jonathan, I'm just noting that on your point 8 on your memo indicates that we should show the steep slopes.
Yeah, I'm backtracking on that. I agree that if we waive topography, it doesn't make sense to require him to do steep slopes.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would. So in my recommended action 1, I added that my memo reads topography, grading, and drain 4 things. I think that's reasonable.
Now, the other, and I guess the something that we've requested in the past is showing the entire 2 parcels. And I didn't know, Jim, if you were...
I did ask for that.
And we have already modified the plan to have an inset, inset that shows the tax lots anyway.
Okay, just wanted to confirm that that was going to be done. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my point 3 of the memo, was to show the full lot of the large parcel.
And can you have this submitted by the 29th of April?
We're ready to submit tomorrow. We got the memo and we lapped it right on it, so we have everything completed.
Great. So I would recommend that, you schedule a public hearing on the condition that the plans are resubmitted according to the memorandum with the as amended tonight.
Do you want to mention the CEQA while you're there?
It's a lot line adjustment. So it's a type 2, not subject to secret. If you would prefer, before setting the public hearing, you could make a finding about the type 2.
Motion, please.
Don Smallsley will make the motion for declaring this a type 2 under seeker.
Second? I'll second it.
Go ahead.
John Gonzalez will second it. Don Smallsy made the motion on the secret.
Constable.
Mr. Wood,
Aye.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Odom,
Aye.
Mr. Schmaltz,
Yes.
Dr. Lowenstein. Dr. Lowenstein, you hear me?
Looks like he's frozen.
Yeah,
It's frozen.
and I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay.
You defrosted.
Awesome. So now can we make a motion on the public hearing?
I'll make that motion to schedule it.
Don
The
Smallsley will
information is
second.
in.
So Paul and Donald Schmolzen.
On the motion for the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And I'm sorry, I froze for a minute too before Paul. So I may have missed this. Did you make a motion on the waivers that we were discussing?
No,
Was that voted on?
no.
I thought you did. I think I suggested you do.
We talked about it a lot and then I froze, so I don't know if you actually did that.
I don't think you did.
Barbara's saying yes.
Yeah, we did. And then Doug asked the question about but I don't know if we voted on it, did we?
Yeah, Doug, we decided that number 0.8 of my memo, we backtrack on, we discussed that. I thought we voted after that.
Donald Smallsley and Doug Hart.
Donald Schmolzen and Doug Hart.
Right.
Okay.
There goes my memory.
All righty. We will see you next month.
All right. Yeah, did you make the motion on the waivers?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you next
Good
month.
night.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Wagner Farm.
Yes, 4 things.
Permit for events. Is there anybody here for this?
I believe I see Philip Combe on the gallery.
Yes, the people here for Wager Farms are the owners, Maddie and Phil. Welcome, thank you. Our proposal is in conjunction with the new events law that was put together in, it's over there. In December. We, as many of you may know, we have hosted events in the past on that particular property, 541 Ulster Heights Road, but they were limited to no more than 8, and it was random. Mostly they were weddings held in the barn, along with some lodging for either party, whether it's the groom's party or the bride's party in the house. We've always required specialized sanitary portable trailers that are high-end trailers for bathrooms. We do not want to use the bathrooms in the house for guests because it's just too much on the septic system. So in accordance with the law, we did put together an events management plan, which Jonathan looked over, the planners looked over. I think you may have it in front of you. We prepared one for each person. And with respect to the comments, I think the biggest item on there was the parking related to the number of people we requested approval for. We had requested 150. That would require more parking, and we do not want to disturb any earth or make any more. There's no building involved and no earth movement involved. So we are cutting that back to 110. So the submission is for 110 people, not 150. And the existing parking, of which there's 2 locations with overflow on the grass area, is sufficient to handle 110. That would be 55 parking spots. So the request is for approval of or consideration and approval for 18 events. They will be varied in size. They will not all be 110 people. That would be the maximum. The events are held in the barn, around the barn, and down below the barn where the old used to be a sawmill in the late 1700s down along the water. That's usually where the ceremonies are held. And then people navigate up to the barn area and hold the rest of the event at the barn. Typically, people come on a Friday, set up, have the event on a Saturday, and then they tear down and leave on Sunday. If they're staying on the premises, they don't stay in the premises. Sometimes everything happens in one day. The owners, if you'll see in our event management plan, the owners are required to be there on site, and that's for a number of reasons, primarily being parking. We make sure that the parking is done in an orderly fashion, not on the road, and that it gives us the ability to take care of handicapped people and direct people that may have harder time getting to the barn or to the ceremony area. And then we also are there because if there's anything that goes, any questions that the DJ may need or the bridal party needs, we're there to address those questions efficiently and smoothly. Otherwise, things can get out of hand when you have an event. So that's very important. Plus, we take pride in the property and we want to see it handled properly. We don't want any issues. That's all in the management plan. One of the things we need and is a emergency contacts. It's part of your item in the package. We have laminated emergency contact information that's posted in the barn or will be posted in the barn, along with a number of other things that we need to do in accordance with the building code officer with whom I've met and made a list of things that need to be done. Second railings on some steps, things like that. Removal of cords, so all electric has to be plugged in permanently. I have that list. Those are things I will tackle before the next meeting.
I have a question. Since this is going to be a site plan approval, don't we also need to have the buffer from the stream on here? And I also was wondering where the portable porta-johns or the permanent or the portable bathrooms would be for the larger events.
Okay, that's a good question. I'm not sure about the answer to the buffer on the stream. That's something we can add easily. The portable facilities are always housed behind the house. If you look at the survey map or / site plan, you'll see a part of the semicircle driveway where it goes just past the house. There's a little appendage that says gravel drive on it. That's where we put those trailers because they have access to water directly from the house and electric. And then people walk from the barn or from the patio area to that because it's central and it's out of the way.
So it's behind the house. So you really don't see it. It's right behind the house.
Yeah,
And that would be the case for the Porta Johns also.
we don't usually have porta johns unless it's a very small event, and typically if it's a small event, they use the house.
Okay,
for,
because I did see that listed in your plan, so.
Did or did not?
Did.
Porta johns?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that you could use the inside of the house for smaller events, but would need to bring them in for larger events. But one of the items, or item 6, was for you to get a review from the Ulster County Department of Health.
Right.
And in the last event venue application, the Department of Health had us place conditions regarding washing, regarding the bathrooms, in the approval. So, we'll need that before taking action, any conditions from the health department.
I understand, and that I plan to contact them after this meeting, so I was perfectly clear. We, as you know, and I think we made it, pointed it out in the application, was that we do not provide anything but the space, but the property. So outside vendors are always used for food prep and service. We provide water if they need it in their setup, where they have the 3-pot or 3-tub requirement. And with respect to the sanitary facility trailers, the providers of those trailers that we use, those vendors out of Montgomery or Pine Bush or Kingston, have certificates that are provided by the health department as to their approval. So we will obtain that, and we'll also see if we can get somebody on site. I don't know how easy that is, but it must still be possible for them to review and provide comments before the next meeting.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, this application needs a fair amount of information to complete it. But the reason why I brought it forward for the agenda tonight was I thought the threshold issue that needed the board's action is whether you would consider going over the 12 events per year under the event law. You have the applicant can ask for you to waive that 12 limit and ask for more. In this case, they've asked for 18 events per year, and that perhaps you could consider that tonight. I think you have enough information to consider that question. And then if you ruled on that, that would give him a lot more direction into what's, I'd hate for him to go out and get information based on a certain level of events, but then, have the board lessen that or increase that or whatever. So I think that the threshold thing is to set how many events are we talking about? And he's already changed the size downward to provide less parking from 150 to 110. So I think if we could leave tonight with an idea of how many events we're talking about and the maximum size agreed upon between the applicant and the board, then he can work on completing the application. And you could either set it up for a hearing next month, contingent on him getting information by a certain time, or you may decide that there's not enough, there's too much outstanding and it's not ready to set the hearing up next month. That's where I see where we are procedurally.
Jonathan, before we go there, I have some questions. I've been on the board for a long time. And Phil, so Conrad Eck is the original part of your house, of the bed and breakfast, right?
Say that again.
Conrad Eck's house that is
Yes.
now.
Yes, that is the house.
So now the house that's going towards Ellenville,
Yes,
and that's now part of Wager Farms?
that's a separate parcel altogether, and we use it in conjunction with events if they're, a certain size.
Right.
But that is not, it's not on the same parcel and not on that site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Is
the
that a
old
bed and breakfast
Finkelstein,
also?
Finkelstein residence.
Is that bed and breakfast also?
It's just lodging.
No, it's just Airbnb.
Lodging?
Yes.
Okay, here's my problem. I don't remember this ever coming to the planning board for any approvals.
That's correct, because there was not any requirement for anything to come before the planning board, to our knowledge, for approvals.
Okay, so how many bedrooms are in the house?
As soon as we learned that there was a new law, we realized we need to come before the planning board for a special use permit.
Okay.
Well, one thing that I think Mary Lou, you may need to get involved in this, is there's a difference between lodging and Airbnb, which is short-term rental of a house.
Right. At this point, we don't have an Airbnb or a short-term rental law. And when a municipality does not have a short-term rental law, courts have said it's a residential use. So this isn't like a regular bed and breakfast, but I definitely understand your concern, Paul. My concern is more that you've been holding events, even though we didn't have a law, they weren't allowed until now.
Well, that's where I'm going with this
But
also.
the events themselves, yeah, I guess that's a matter for the building department. But, you know, in the past, you're right, they didn't come before us and we didn't know about it, you know, that I know of.
And there was no laws at that time?
Right, there was nothing that allowed that. The
What about B&B?
event venue.
What about changing a residential to a B&B?
Well, an Airbnb is still considered a residential use when it's short term.
Yeah, this is not an Airbnb.
This is not a bed and breakfast. We don't,
not a
you
bed
know,
and
people just stay and they go the next day, they make their own food and so forth. They use the house for a day or a weekend.
The problem with short-term rentals in the Airbnb industry is if you own a house and you live in the house, you can have a party at your house and you can have a wedding at your house. If you rent your house out for 30 days at a time or 60 days at a time, your tenants can have parties, they can get married, they can have a wedding at their house. What gets murky is if you put your house on Airbnb and someone can use it for one night and then they have a party or a wedding. So unfortunately, there's sort of a deficit in your code, and many of the communities in New York, many of my clients are adopting short-term rental laws to deal with the Airbnb thing. The wedding event venue thing is related, but it's not. But the Airbnb issue is they mix together occasionally, but they're really two separate issues.
And yet, at this point in the zoning committee, Airbnb is a big tackle. So we're not looking at it with this amendment, but I would not be surprised if it's looked at in the very near future to look at regulating that. I have a different comment. Jonathan, you had mentioned perhaps making a determination as to whether the planning board would allow 18 events. I'm just a little bit concerned about that because at some point in the future, there'll be a public hearing. And I think that's something it may be very important to hear from the neighbors on before a decision like that's made. It's different than when we did the one on Lundy Farm that had no neighbors.
Right. Well, I guess it's really up to the board. You could look at it either way. You either want to get the application firmed up a bit before it goes to hearing, or you could let it go to hearing and then firm it up afterwards.
Here's my
depending on what you hear.
Here's my question, Phil. How long have you been having events there?
Well, the first event was a whim. It was a wedding in 2000, I think 15.
Okay.
It was one wedding, was it? And then that followed, I think maybe by two the next year because of word of mouth. And these are people that would rent the house and then want to have a wedding there. And so that's sort of morphed into, I'd say an average of 6. Well, we didn't have any last year, but, well, I think we did have 1 last year. But the year before, I think it was 6. And last year's were, moved to this year. So we do have some on the agenda for this year.
And Robin, have you had any complaints from the neighbors or anything?
At the moment, no.
Okay. Have you had any complaints from the neighbors, Phil?
No, in fact, the neighbor that is directly across from me is, we work well together. I give them a list of, or we give them a list of when we have events as a courtesy in case they want to not be there.
We all have a problem with this.
We do try to,
What was that?
we definitely regulate the music at night, cutting it off at 10 o'clock. We close the doors on the barn for the DJ. We're very cognizant of that. And then, yes or no, we have not.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to know what kind of events you plan on having.
What kind of events?
Is limited to weddings, or is it fully limited to weddings?
Baby showers, graduation. Our children had their graduation party there. Bridal showers.
Class reunion. And so the number's going to vary by the type of event. If it's a birthday party or a class reunion, it could be 50 people, could be 25 people, it could be 80 people. Weddings sometimes are, usually are more, but.
And I'd like to go back to the comment about people having an issue. No one has come to us and said there was an issue.
I kind of like to leave that for the public hearing. If we have an event and it's down outside, the speakers or the amplification, the sound has to stay within the property according to our zone law. So how do you propose that, or is it far enough away from the neighbors not disturbed?
The sound is inside the barn. We don't have music outside of the barn, and I don't know if it's specifically in the event management plan, but that can be modified to say that the music is in the barn. We could close the door that faces the road, which is the only spot that there's a neighbor. Only inside is across the road. That's the Moses. And so, and the only other time there's any loudspeaker, if you will, or amplifier is down near the water when the ceremony is occurring and they're exchanging vows. And that's usually a wireless microphone, and it's very temporary. Once in a while, they will play a song right during the vows or right before the vows, and that's it. And the noise from the waterfall there is usually louder than the music.
And that's why we have the microphone used down there, because you can't hear otherwise.
Is there a tent down there? You put one up, or?
Never have. It could be done, but we never have. No, it's patioed with flagstone, and then we use a decibel meter to measure the music at night.
How many bedrooms are in the house?
6.
What does our code allow for a bed and breakfast?
Not a bed and breakfast.
For lodging?
The residents.
It's a residence. It's not a bed and breakfast.
It's a single family.
It's a single family residence.
Does anyone live there?
Yes, I believe so.
Not on a permanent basis, no.
I don't.
Oh, permanent. Okay. And it sounds like you're very good hosts, but let's say hypothetically you sell this property and then the new owners just make a loud big bang venue system there. So how does the board protect the neighbors? Is it going to be spelled out? I don't know.
Well, if you're asking me, it is spelled out in the event management plan, which goes with the property. So whatever we do to that property or any future owner down the road is subject to that event management plan, and anything you add to it as a board, and then it's subject to the code enforcement officer and the code. That's the way it is with every town.
Code enforcement officers don't work on the weekends. So,
Yeah, that's always been the problem.
yeah.
Would you?
But as you recall from the last case, a actual permit is required from Robin to be gotten during the week for every event that occurs on the weekend. And the police can be called in the interim. So it's not like you're uncovered. I would encourage the board members to read that event management plan, and anything you see as a potential loophole or problem or not adequately covered, you could, ask the applicant to add to it. I have comments in my memo of some things I was concerned about, but I would encourage you to go through the event management plan and make any other comments. When perhaps when this goes to hearing or sooner, depending on your meeting schedules of this application.
Yeah, and you might want to look sooner. I'm just not sure whether you want to do a public hearing or have everybody look at this management plan more closely to see if you want to add any additional information before a public hearing.
Yeah, that's really the question that we had before, which is, do you want to go to public hearing to get information, or do you want to have things solidified and clarified before it's put to hearing?
Did we say we wanted to get, decide the number of activities from 12 to 18 at the public hearing? Get input from the public, or try to make that determination today?
I'm at the public hearing.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. Yes.
I think I don't want to say a good thing because I don't know, too much about these events in the past. I don't want to say it's a good thing that we have a little history that the neighbors can tell us about, whether, it sounds like there haven't been any complaints. But there's a difference between 6 and 18 events. But the neighbors can probably give input on whether in fact they can't hear the music, which is great because you have it in the barn or you have things down by the water. So, I mean, you can start the public hearing and see what people have to say. And if you feel you need more information or studies, you can request them as we go on.
One other question I have, I know in the events law that it also allows for outdoor concerts. Would that be anything that you would be interested in? Could you put that in the management plan so that it would be fully covered and, wouldn't be an issue down the road?
I'm sorry. We're not interested in doing outdoor concerts, but
I looked at that today. The event law does not list concerts as an event.
I was going to say that you can't have a concert under.
Okay, so it's already covered. Okay.
I'm thinking about something else then.
All right, so I want to just mention too that as a host of an event, no matter what the event is, any as we've done in the past, if you want to run it as a business, you're going to do what it takes to hold the event properly and keeping your neighbors and other people in mind in a considerable fashion. And that's what we've done. And there's any operator, us or anybody in the future, would be completely foolish to handle it any other way. Otherwise, they won't be in business. They'll be shut down, and that's just the way it should be. And so that's how we've handled ourselves. That's the way we're going to continue to handle ourselves if we, after we go through this process and whatever you decide to do. We would respectfully ask if we could schedule a public hearing so that we can hear from people that want to voice any opinion or input. And in the interim, we will provide any additional information and get the things from the health department that we need.
Would we like to have the bathroom arrangements and things, any extras put on the location map or have the map adjusted to reflect where the garbage would be, and where the porta potties, for lack of a better word, would be.
Garbage, they've got a dumpster shown down there at the bottom of the southern parking lot already, John.
Yeah, I had it open. They still do.
But you might want to see
Yeah.
the trailers.
Yeah,
We haven't talked about the,
Does the parking lot address 55 cars?
I'd like to elaborate on the parking issue because I'd written about that in the memorandum. My concern about the parking layout is it looks like that, particularly on that lawn area next to the house, you've got cars shown right at the street line almost. And I would like to see maybe you put some hedges or some plantings along the road to buffer where you're going to park all those cars rather than have them lined up right against the road. And certainly now that you're going to go down to 110 guests and you have less cars, if you could show more precisely, you know, where the grass is going to stay grass and where the gravel is going to be gravel, and if there's any enlargement of graveled areas to show, you know, existing gravel, extra gravel to remain as grass. And then on the grass ones, you could, you know, show with dotted lines how many cars you could fit on the grass. But right now it's a little unclear where you're going to use existing gravel or where you're going to add gravel or maybe you're not going to add any, or if you're just going to use grass, and just nail that all down. And then one of the areas that you showed as where you were going to park cars, at least I don't know the site as well as these folks who live in your community, but it looked like there were a lot of trees in the area where you were going to park. And I don't know how that was going to work, whether you were going to remove some trees or not. So I'd want to that when you resubmit, to clarify those details. And I also think the idea that was raised by, I believe it was Dawn, to just show that the buffer, the 100-foot buffer from the stream, and put a note that you're not going to build anything within 150 feet of the water, and that you're just going to use the seating area that's already there. And that would sort of put that issue to rest.
Okay. Can I answer just one point or two on these parking, please?
Sure.
We're going to eliminate the grass parking you first spoke of that's up close to the house. That would be perpendicular to the road. I agree with that. That was to accommodate 150 people, which we really don't need and we've never had.
Okay.
So we don't want to add any more gravel area anywhere than what's there. Robin's been at the site. Don may have been at the site in the past. Frank's been at the site. And so I think they know that the parking that appears to have trees, did have trees there, but we removed 48 or 49 ash trees in the last 2 years.
Okay.
Those are the problems with the borer. So that may have been an older photo.
It probably was from Google, and I haven't been getting out much.
And there are no trees in the way of that parking. So that's all open. Both parking on flanking both ends of the property are wide open, which really gives us what we really need for 110. But we'll make notes on the map and we'll create the buffer.
Thank you.
So Phil, earlier you mentioned that it's usually a Friday night, Saturday and Sunday affair. Where are the people going to be staying? Where do they usually stay?
If it's a wedding, it could be 3. It could be 3 days.
Right.
Smaller events are usually in and out in one day. But if there's people are staying, they stay in the house.
All 110.
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
When people come for an event, it's usually just the wedding party or the wedding, the bride's parents or family that stays in the house. And because you can only handle, there's only 6 beds, so they can only handle 12 people at the most. And then everybody else is going to book somewhere else in town. So the amount of business that these types of events bring in is considerable, both for lodging and for food and other services, restaurants, things like that.
Right. Okay.
We recommend the local caterers just to do the
That's-
events too.
that's true.
We try to keep all of the local business that we can.
Now, Phil, I don't know if you're aware, but each event of an event is classified as one day. Now, in your management plan, you were saying that basically it's the wedding is the event, and then it's arriving before the day before and arrive and leaving the day after. But that's more for the Airbnb and not so much as the 100 or 50 guests or
Oh,
whatever.
correct. 100% correct. Yes. In
Okay.
fact, the event, I think you have a definition for event, but I don't remember looking at it. But to me, the event is when you're going to have music, when you're going to have people, when you're going to have cars, when you're going to have potential problems or noise. That's one day.
Correct.
Everything else is people coming onto site, looking it over, figuring out where the tables are going to be placed and the chairs and the linens and things like that. And then they take all that away on Sunday, but that's only a handful of people.
That's set up and tear down.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and we could clarify that in conditions of approval. But the thing that we would not want to have happen is for, let's say, the renters who come on Friday night, the 8 people who are the bride's immediate family and maybe some of the groom's immediate family, and they take those bedrooms, that they can't presume to have a 50-person party rehearsal dinner and not have that be an event. That if they wanted to do that, they could make that arrangement as the host, but that would be a second event that weekend with then as to go along with the wedding on Sunday. Or if you were going to have 50 people for the rehearsal dinner and 100 people for the wedding on Saturday and 75 people for breakfast on Sunday, that would be 3 events. So we're going to have to be clear on.
Yeah, which is why when we asked for the number of events, that was an unclear item.
Yeah.
In the law. So we figured that 12 could be quite restrictive, because if you did have those situations, you're kind of limited on the number of weekends a year that you can have have activities there. So being that some of the events will be small numbers of people and some events may be larger, and the ambiguity in the definition of events, 18 is certainly a little bit more reasonable in our minds versus 12.
Well, I would, you've got time before the hearing to revise your event management plan based on these comments tonight, and you can try to put a box around what's not an event and what's going to be an event, so that there's an understanding all around of, if you're approved for 12 events, what that means. If you're approved for 18 events, what that means in terms of which things are going to be counted as events and which things are use of the house by the renters of the house.
And
All right,
may
we can
I ask,
attempt to do that.
I'm guessing you're not going to have a lot of people out there in December and January and February in the field. Can you give us some indication of, your start and end date for your events each year?
Yes, we can put that in the plan if I haven't already, but
It might be there. I may have missed it, but I didn't.
No,
see
I don't think it is. I wrote it. I don't think it's there because there's no heat in the barn. There's no running water. So that's no question that.
I'm the only one who would want to come to an event in a barn in December with no heat.
Well, we would probably do the same because we like Vermont, but we'll clear that up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so then I think we have the opportunity to give you the ability to present more information for the board.
I guess my question would be, could you have this already by the 29th to be on the May meeting, or would you want to put it off until June?
We would like to do it for May, and I believe that the changes to the map are not a problem. changes to the event management plan won't be a problem. And I can get I can't speak for the health department, but I'm going to try to have that information as well.
Okay. All right. Then I'd like to make a motion to set the public hearing for May, pending the submission by April 29th of the requested information.
I'll second that motion. Don Odom.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I think we'll wait on CEQA. I guess there's really no need to.
Yeah, I would wait on seeker because, you know, I think it's not a subdivision, so we don't have to do it prior to the public hearing. And I think you'll get more information to help you make a seeker determination at the public hearing.
Yeah, and we're not disturbing any ground or building any buildings.
Didn't say no. Yeah,
Very literally, GML is required on this. It's an unlisted action. And because of the parking situation, it triggers on the county matrix. You know, they get, it's near a county road. It's on a county road. And we're adding parking and it requires site plan review so that there will be a GML requirement. So when's the next Ulster County Planning Board meeting and how do you want to work that in?
It's the first Wednesday in May.
I thought I saw something. It was the 5th.
Okay.
That's correct. It is the 5th.
So could we, if on the 29th, when that comes in, is that enough time to get it to the, what's the deadline for getting on their agenda?
They have to have things 12 days before.
So 12, so I'm glad I asked. I think we got to move this back. I would recommend that you submit it to GML for their May 5th meeting. So what's 12 days before May 5th?
'23rd.
So that's Friday.
3 days.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's where I got the 23rd.
That's where it was.
I know I counted.
We'll go with that, Jonathan.
I know I counted. I only have so many fingers and toes.
23.
So now it comes back to you, Phil.
Can you get this stuff in by, if you could get it in by Friday, not the health department letter,
Right.
but the plans and the edits to the
Yes.
maps? I'm trying to help you out here, but if you could do it by Friday and get it to the staff, we could get it into the county. You could even,
I can. So specifically, are you, is it really what is it, the map and the management plan, or is it just the map? What is it that you specifically
yes,
want?
the site plan and the management plan and, you know, and your narrative.
Okay.
Everything except that health department letter, which you're not going to get in
Yes.
by Friday.
And also, one other thing that we didn't discuss that I will be doing is getting the input from the fire department, the district, and the first aid on the access question you raised, Jonathan, which was.
Yes, and that's required, and I think you can do that in time for the hearing, but that's not necessary to get on Ulster County Planning Board. It's
Okay.
just that by, if you miss that May 5th
I
Ulster
understand.
County Planning Board, then you're in trouble, because then it's like June 5th and
I will endeavor to have it to you by Thursday afternoon or Friday, probably Friday morning. To who? Robin? Who's it go to? Or to Barbara?
Barbara pays,
Okay,
and it has to be submitted by 12 o'clock, right,
it
Barbara?
will be.
Will somebody be able to look at it to make sure everything's on there? Make sure we're not going to have to send it to them again. I mean, we have to be able to certify that what we're sending them is complete.
Well, I would have to review that then the day before, so I would need it. in
Well,
my-
and probably John or Jonathan would have to review
Well,
it
I can send
because
a PDF. I can send a PDF to Jonathan.
yeah, if you send me a PDF, you know, when you got it done, on Thursday night or whatever,
Okay.
I can check it. It's only gonna take me 25 minutes to check it. Why don't
Okay.
you send it to me Thursday night?
I will do that. I just got to
Okay.
get on to Tony Siciliano, but I will.
Okay.
And
Good luck.
Jonathan, you'll have to let Barbara know by noon whether it's okay for her to forward it to the county.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we have a motion.
You know, John, Constable, you could declare yourselves, you could declare unlisted and an uncoordinated review, but not make any secret determinations at this point.
Well, we already have a motion on the floor and seconded.
Oh, that hasn't been voted on? Okay.
No.
Yeah, let's do that.
Do that one, and then if you'd like to do the seeker.
Review me on the motion. What's the motion for?
What was the
Setting the
motion?
public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
And you could amend the motion to also to have the material by the 23rd and send it to GML in advance of the public hearing.
Okay.
So moved.
On the motion,
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Doug,
Aye.
Adam. Okay. And then the secret determination, we will determinate.
I would recommend that you, Jonathan, were we type 1 or are we unlisted?
Unlisted.
That it be an unlisted action, uncoordinated review, so you don't have to circulate to health department. or
Correct.
Things like that.
Does that still cover sound issues if the neighbors are complaining?
Well, you haven't made a decision yet.
Absolutely. You haven't had a hearing
That
yet.
you're gonna make it, that's stuff you'll
Just
look at when
determining
you're
an
making
unlisted.
your either positive or negative deck down the road.
No, the whether it's listed or unlisted has nothing to do. The category is because there's no construction, but it does require a special permit and site plan review. So it is an unlisted action.
Right.
And you can definitely, when you actually do the seeker review, you'll definitely look at the noise issue, Paul.
Yeah, you're just initiating seeker by this declaring yourself lead agency and typing it.
That's all we're doing, declaring lead agency.
You're not even declaring lead agency because
No.
you're saying it's an uncoordinated review.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
All right, so Barbara would like to know who's making the motion.
Don Smallsley will.
Doug Hart, second.
Okay, and to be clear, that's a motion to declare this to be an unlisted
Unlisted action.
action with an uncoordinated review.
Correct.
Yep.
On the motion, Dr. Lowenstein,
Yes.
Mr. Wood, Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Odom,
Yes.
Mr. Schmaltz,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, then we have the public hearing established. We have the CEQA established. We will see you next month. And Jonathan, you'll send me a copy of the map when you receive it.
Yep.
I'll copy it, or I'll probably copy it. I thank you all. Sorry for the length of time. See you next month.
Okay.
Ladies, back on the Mill and Main Restaurant.
Good evening, how are you?
Awesome.
Good evening, how are you?
Would you
Doing good, doing good.
brief discussion on where we are at?
Yeah, so based on last month's meeting, we added some additional information and some detail to the site plan, which I'll touch base on real quick. Most everything is happening in the backyard with regard to the patio. There was a refuse enclosure issues, lighting. So that's all been added to the plan. I believe from the recent comments, we'll have to revise it a little bit, But, so all that information was added. One of the other major points of discussion was the, obviously not on-site parking, it's off-site on the municipal street parking. So we provided a sketch, just an illustration of how much parking is available on the main street. And that was based on some measurements that the town had provided, some widths and lengths. So that illustration was circulated to you all, and it indicated at least 37 parking spaces can be provided there at the town of Wawarsing required dimensions, which I believe are 10 by 20 they are, I think. So again, it's just an illustration. We did try to leave some areas basically hatched for no parking where we know that the alleyways exist. There hasn't been a very detailed survey of that area. I do know that there is probably some existing, curb cuts, and if there is going to be striping at any point for, handicap parking, it probably should be coordinated with where those, curb depressions are located. But I think at least it's a good illustration that there is.
Yeah, I didn't see that sketch. Did that include the other side of Main Street also?
Yeah. So
Okay. All right. That's okay.
So the other side of Main Street, we only showed a few parallel spots. There may be able to fit perpendicular parking there, but we showed parking all along the sidewalk curved area, a 25-foot wide travel lane, and then parking on the other side by the, by the landscape, and also on the other side, kind of off towards the firehouse, but not obviously in front of the firehouse. There was another 8 spaces. So
Okay.
there's quite a bit going on there.
All right. One of the other questions I had too was I didn't see any lighting for the right of way. And I'm just wondering if that's going to be dark for evening eating and so on.
Yeah, so right now, there is nothing proposed within the right of way. Whether there's going to be access, if people would go through the restaurant and then out to the patio. So yeah, so there is nothing proposed along the building on the side.
And
Well,
the other question I had concerning the lighting also is I didn't see where you were showing the intensities of the lighting leaving the property.
Yep. So we're actually requesting a waiver from that to show that on the drawing, because all the lighting is either mounted on the building or on the fence, except for one light pole like kind of in the middle of the site, but towards the rear of the patio. So everything that's mounted on the fence, I mean, nothing's going behind it. And same thing with on the shed and on the other side. So plan, let's say on the right side of the patio, there's a fence that's going to go from the building to the hedge line, and there's lights mounted on that fence between 5 and 6 feet, and the fence is 6 foot high. So the lighting won't be spread behind it onto that property. It's just in front. They all are shielded from above, so they're all down lighting, so nothing goes outward. So the only pole light is at the rear of the patio on the upper corner, on the right-hand corner, is a pole that we're showing the light to be around 10 feet high, just so it lights the gate and everything for the dumpster enclosure too. But that's right in the middle of the site. So we were asking a waiver for showing the illuminance plotted.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
So really quickly, Jonathan had sent out some comments based on the sketch that we submitted. One of the comments he mentioned for the type of lighting, there were some different options for the light source itself. He is recommending using LEDs with a soft white and a max a K value of 3000, which the applicant is happy to do. So we can make the adjustments to those cut sheets and resubmit them for sure. The other comment that's kind of relevant to this site plan and relevant to a waiver that we're also asking for is any construction within the adjacent area to the Rondout Creek, which the town requires 100-foot adjacent area to be free, with that the applicant can request a waiver down to 50 feet. This embankment to the Rondout Creek is very steep and high. So as far as the floodplain and DC references kind of the top of the bank, which is just beyond that 50-foot buffer. So we would ask the board to consider the waiver to any construction, is allowable at the 50-foot buffer, and to the 100-foot. And then we would make an adjustment to where we show the patio and the reference enclosure to not encroach on that 50-foot setback.
Yeah, at the last time we saw this application, we said to Nadine, show us where the 100-foot buffer lies. And now that we see it, it takes up about half the yard. So if they were kept 100 feet off of the creek, they really couldn't have a patio back there. But they can ask you to allow the patio and tank up to 50 feet from the tank. It looks to me like on the plans, that tank looks maybe like 46 feet from the creek, and maybe the patio is 48 or 49 feet from the creek or something like that. So I think that if the board is inclined to allow them to go to put the patio up to 50 feet away, they just have to modestly shrink the size of the patio a few feet and move the tank back towards the street a few feet away from the top of the bank, which is probably a good idea in case there's any erosion of the bank.
Okay. Are these, you're asking for a waiver from the 100-foot, and you're also asking for a waiver on parking, right?
Yes, and the other issue is that we talked about this last time, that parking on site is a requirement, but it can be waived. And they cannot there's really no way for them to provide any parking on site.
So then we would need a motion for the two waivers. Is there any
Also,
other?
there was a lighting waiver she was asking for.
Yeah, she does not want to provide photometric details on the light in the patio. And I would agree that's sort of overkill.
Okay. How does the board feel about this? Would anybody like to make a motion on the first waiver?
John, on a waiver for parking, are they considering we have 6 apartments and 4 storefronts there that people are gonna also have to park on the streets there too.
It's for lack of a better word, it's a municipal parking lot. Somebody has to, yeah.
Well, also, all of the apartments are there. So they're grandfathered anyway. It's really just so an increase in the number of people with this proposal that live on Main Street.
No, but if she has a full capacity, then where do the people for her place go to park?
Well, she's demonstrated that there are 37 space for parking 37 cars. And
what's her occupancy?
And if the, that also there's history that Main Street used to have funeral home, post office, that the street supported quite a lively bunch of businesses and institutional uses in the past.
Well, it was a business district, and I don't know that any of those buildings in that row have parking off street.
No.
And I understand there could be other applications as well, but nope, those buildings almost become unusable.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't give a parking waiver, then no one can get a permit for anything. On that, I mean, I hate to be, cut to the chase, but if no one could get a new use of any kind on Main Street ever, unless they knock down one of the buildings to make a parking lot on Main Street.
Well, I know we had this discussion about, other than that little grassed island that they put in that used to be parking also. There used to be at least 3 other buildings on that street, maybe even up to 5. I can't remember. That
There's at
used
least
to
3 other
have,
buildings.
multi-uses, business and real, retail and residents above. I think one was an apartment. So, there's been several buildings that have been removed. They were condemned and removed. And really, as it exists right now, there's the firehouse and these 2 buildings, these neighboring buildings. This application, the applicants are renovating everything, the 2 existing apartments upstairs and the first floor for retail and restaurant. The other building next door has been occupied, their apartments above have been occupied continuously. And I don't know what businesses are down below, but they do have businesses in there now.
I think we're beating a dead horse here. And really, we have 2 options. Board, you could wait till next month at a public hearing or when it goes before the board of public, or you could waive it now, or you could deny the application.
As far as
the last part, John. Or I didn't hear the last part. You broke up.
Well, we could either waive the parking or deny the application, or wait till the public hearing and get input from the public. I believe that this is a town issue. It's been there. I don't think we need to discuss how many people have lived there or any more. If the town wishes to pass laws or do something with it, as you can only park between the hours of 8 in the morning and 11 o'clock at night, or except if you live there, this is not the applicant's problem.
Right. So, John, the crux to me is parking. They have patio seating in the back and restaurant seating in the front, plus a retail store. So how many cars do we think the restaurant and store will need to be in operation as they present their plans now?
30.
30, and there's 36
So-
available.
Is
So
that right,
there's,
Nadine?
there's 37 available.
Okay,
So this-
37.
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties pulling up my plan here, but so we did 2 calculations. We did one based on the square foot requirements in the town, and then we did one on typical kind of restaurant seating numbers. And again, I'm having
Nadine, this
I'm having
includes
trouble here, but
also
so
the cooks, hostess, and the dishwashers and everything else in this 37 cars? In this 30, I mean?
yeah, so it's basically all inclusive for that. And some of the, the retail is, for this application specifically, is more of a morning and daytime kind of coffee cafe type use. So there may be, overlap in hours, but, the use is a little different for sure. And, I think for any restaurant use, it is very difficult to say how many cars, because, some people, they come in one car, the whole family, 4 people. Sometimes, there's 4
Right,
friends meeting and they all
exactly.
have 4 cars. So it is,
you don't
it's
know.
really,
Yeah.
it's difficult to say. And the plan that we have laid out, the illustration that shows the 37 parking spaces, again, is not based on an actual survey. There may be much more. There may be parking in other locations, on
Right.
other streets. So the municipal parking has proven in the past to serve its purpose. And I think that it can definitely be laid out.
I-
Right.
To work.
I think this is mute. We're beating a dead horse.
Yeah,
if
and John,
you go
I'm
to-
sorry.
If you go to the funeral home there, when there's 100 cars there or 100 people there, there's at least 50 cars. The parking lot only holds 25. The rest of the people park down by the beer store. Nice weather. It's a great walk. Use those parking spaces. There's a parking lot across on the other side of the road that's belongs to the town that is also a sewage or water something in there. Unfortunately, this is what municipalities have, and the town of Wawarsing might want to consider taking a very hard look at this, because they may go and incorporate. So I don't think that would be a wise move for the village hamlet of Wisconsin. So town of Wawarsing has to own up to it.
I look at it as far as the parking is concerned, what they're showing here is somewhere between the maximum of 45 and the average of 23, with 35 being a reasonable amount. And then I compare that down to downtown Ellenville. And if there's 45 spaces in downtown Ellenville for the number of restaurants and so on that are there, I'd be very surprised. I don't think this is a huge issue. It's underused portion. I would be in favor of granting the waiver now, because otherwise it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but I do have a question. Tony and I think Frank was supposed to look at the lot. What was their number that came up? Did they go?
When
Frank, did-
when we measured Paul, just roughly, we didn't actually lay it out. We had come up with a tentative number of 35.
Okay. You know something, it's the applicant, wants to put a business in, I understand that there's issues with the parking there, and I know that, months ago, we asked the town to act on this and there was no action. But I don't think it's it looks like it has enough parking. I mean, I'm not, Don, you want to make the motion or you want me
I'll
to
make
make
the
the motion?
motion.
Go ahead, because you said it first, I'll second it.
Okay. To waive the parking requirement.
And light and one other thing.
50
Like,
50 foot buffer.
From the back of the building to the river.
Oh, and allowing them to go up to the 50-foot line from the Rondout Creek.
Yep, I'll include that in the motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We've got it. All right. Do we think that we could have everything ready to?
Yeah, so, we will definitely make the adjustments to the rear yard plan, to get in that buffer area and update the lighting. I think that addresses those main issues. And I know that this has to go to the county, right?
Yes, and if you could get it done
So,
by Friday,
yeah.
that would be enough time to get on the May 5th Ulster County Planning Board agenda.
All right, so let me ask you this. I mean, we will definitely make it, but I just always like to push buttons. Can we get you that like everything in a PDF so you can get it to the county on Friday and then get like the 13 copies of everything on Monday, Tuesday, or do you need the hard copies before you submit to the
No,
county?
she needs the copies so that she can mail them to the county.
Oh, it's mail. You don't email.
And nobody it has
So,
to be done
How do
via
they get
mail.
in time? The
One
mail
hard-
is slowing down and raising their rates.
What did you say?
The mail is slowing down and raising their rates. How do they get in time if you get in like the Wager Farm, it's coming in Thursday night, Jonathan's gonna look at it, and then if it's okay, it goes up. So how does it get
They
there?
look at the postmark. With postmark, they take it.
So can we have
Okay,
just
good.
one? I mean,
All
I
right.
don't know, Nadine, how many copies do you need to send to the county, Barbara?
One.
Just
One.
I mean, I don't know if it's like possible to just print out the one, Nadine?
Yeah, and it's just anything changed, we want to get that to you in the hard copy. And if you need hard copies, we'll give you the whole package. That way, you have it.
Yeah,
So
printing
by
your printing, right?
Friday,
Nadine,
Yep.
12 noon
By
on Friday.
noon. Yes, and seeker.
Type 2.
Two.
Type 2. Okay.
You're reusing an existing structure.
And I have one question, and I see Claudia is on. Claudia, you gave us the proxy to let Nadine act on your behalf. It's in your individual name. I'm guessing you're Pilot. Are you Pilot?
Pilot Light Productions, yeah.
Okay, can you just get together with Nadine to get her position, because this is as an individual.
Yes,
Thank you.
no problem, thank you.
You don't want to have any holes in the application.
I always like that paperwork to be just right.
Yeah. So before we forget, I know you got to make a motion on the public hearing and everything, but before we forget, because I know we're focused on the site plan, but the public hearing will include the lot line adjustment, right? It's all included so that we don't have to have two separate public hearings.
That is correct. What when it's a multi-part thing, like it's a special permit and a site plan, or a subdivision and site plan, we do it all at once.
Okay,
Unless you
wonderful.
want like 3 or 4.
You get more for the money.
I mean, we can push buttons too.
Oh, I know.
Hey, we're moving right along
Yeah.
tonight.
Nadine, on the copy, could we have one for county and one for Barbara, hard copies? The rest you could email to Jonathan and he to the board so that they would have the spec copies. And we'll go from there. But I think 2 hard copies, just in case county says you have this, and be able to have a hard copy as
Okay,
well.
very,
And on the public hearing, do we need to do CEQA first, or can we wait?
You can make a
Either
motion to
way,
declare it type 2.
Declare type 2 is one motion, and then the public hearing setting is another motion.
Okay, so let's do CEQA first.
I'll declare it, make the motion we declare. it as
I'll
type
second.
Barbara's reminding you that you also have to make a motion to send it to the county.
Okay, let's on the CEQA. Dr. Lonstein,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Odom,
Yes.
Mr. Schmalz,
Yes,
and I vote yes. June the 20 Friday. Would anybody care to? I'll make that motion. And anybody?
Don Smallsley will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And finally, we did seeker, we did that. Oh, the public hearing. Would somebody like to make a motion to have the public hearing?
I'll make that motion, Don Odom.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
John.
Okay, then I think we're all set. And we can see if we can have this done next month. We'll have a public hearing, we'll have the county input, and hopefully we're done.
perfect. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks,
Good
guys. Have a good
night.
night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.
Did
Thank
we
you
do
so much.
motions
Thank
on
you.
the others that are
Bye-bye.
going to county to send it to county?
What did you say?
Did we do motions to send the others to county? We talked about getting them in on time.
I think we included it in the public hearing in the other motions.
Okay. Barbara would keep us straight if we didn't, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been discussing the fees, and it's come to our attention that the fees that we are charging need to be changed. For logging, it seems that 500 is a little bit high. We think that we should reduce it to 200.
This is for the escrows, right, John? Not for the
Escrows.
fees.
This is the escrows. A lot of times there's this discussion and talk between our council and our planner. And then at the end, we can't sign the maps until we have the final bill. And so rather than hold up the maps, we'll have an escrow. And as the escrow deflates to less than 80%, then we'll ask the applicant to contribute to the escrow account. And we think that for site plans and special use, 2,500, is that?
That's what we said.
That's what we
Barbara
discussed.
recommended
And then,
looking at,
Yes.
looking at the pasts.
and also for subdivisions too.
Subdivisions is different
subdivisions
because
we
we
left.
do it per lot.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's just that we wish to send a letter to the town board for special use and site plans to increase the
He said
2005.
logging already. Yes, that was the first thing that he brought up was the logging.
and the logging is be decreased from 5 to 2. I'll entertain a motion to send the town board a letter.
So moved.
So who's making the motion?
The second,
Dr. Lon,
all in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Is anybody going to make a motion, or do you want to stay here for
Did you do the minutes yet?
minutes.
1 minute? A motion on the minutes?
I'll make the motion. We accept the minutes.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
And before you close the meeting, one quick question. So are there PDFs of all the plats available, or are they all hard copy?
What are you talking
Well,
about?
what happens, I'll answer that my way, which is paper copies are submitted to the building department.
Right.
I've been asking everybody for PDFs because my organization uses those. And I make a separate ask for that. Then I flip those PDFs to Paul Tazolino, and he posts them on the website with the agenda and the Zoom link.
Okay.
So there are PDFs out there, but they're not going into town. They're coming to me and then to Paul Tazolino for the website.
But you should be able to access them
Yeah, I
through
was
the
looking
website.
before. I can't. I'll talk to Paul.
Yeah, if you look at the agenda, like I just checked, because I believe me, I worry that the public won't be able to see the stuff and then we could get in trouble. I worry about that. So I check it before the meeting, and there are links to each site plan available to the public on the website. They were there this morning.
So Paul, I see you're there now. So it's in the agenda, because I get the agenda sent to me. So I thought that was the same letter.
Jonathan,
They're on the website.
Jonathan sends us sometimes a whole bunch of documents, which are part of the, I guess, the meeting notice of the Zoom link.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, as he said, he sends us these PDF files, which get posted on the town website prior to the meeting.
but Jonathan,
I'll
is it
find them.
possible when you send those PDFs to Paul that you send them to
All of them.
copy it to everybody like you do with your,
Sometimes they're pretty big.
I'd be happy to,
I'll open mine.
but
Barbara,
Some email
Barbara
systems, some email systems won't accept.
Right, you might not all get them, but
I can, I have a sort of like a Dropbox. I could send as much as you want.
or if you want me as part of what I do to, when I ask the applicants, give me the PDFs, I'll get them. I can put them on my organization's Dropbox and send everybody a link. And that way you can download it or you could ignore it.
or you can just look at it. Yeah.
Or you
whatever.
could, and it won't clog your mailbox.
And you'll have it earlier than it gets up on the website.
Yeah.
Yep, that works.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, just remind me. I have to fool around with it anyway because of the Zoom thing. And it won't take me more than 5 more minutes to just put it in a Dropbox and send you all a link.
Great. Thank you.
Because I send you all the memos, and at that moment, I'll send you a link to the applications when I send you the memos. So it'll be in the same thing. Slowly but surely, all of my communities are using less and less paper. It's actually happening.
I really would like to see the town just go totally this way with digital.
We're working on it, John.
Yeah, and it's tough because the town of Wawarsing has a statutory obligation to keep it forever. So,
wow,
I don't. As a consultant to you, when I get like a stack of things like this for a subdivision, after I'm done and you guys approve it, I can throw it out, but you can't.
That's right. We have to save a copy of every submittal of every document.
That's why Barbara's always running up to the third floor to grab
It
something.
would be nice.
Well, I mean, yes, you can go paperless, but you gotta have a very robust scanning capability. You gotta have, you know.
We have a professional that's on the board that could probably speak for about 20 minutes to an hour on that.
I actually made my living for 20 years being.
Record management. Yep.
I just finished right before I retired. I just finished doing all of the personnel records for a major school district, single-handedly, I might add. And there are options. There are really good options. It's not 1958 anymore. Nobody should be going up to the third floor of town hall to get those papers. It's not fair to have to do that. So,
and they're heavy.
I think we need to budget.
For the website, we actually have access to a content management system. I should talk to you about that, because if you want to do that, we actually have access to that right now if we want to start using it.
Really, that's excellent. So that's a direction. We need to put something in place and probably need to budget for it.
All right, are we adjourning the meeting?
Stop the bleeding.
Not till after they hire Doug, because he keeps
Right,
retiring.
that's
Four of us
fired.
still are driving home and you guys are already home.
Only if there's a motion. Where's the motion? I'll take.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah.
Don and Paul.